It's Monday, November 25th, 2019, and this is the Pro and Con Show. And I'm your host, Michael James Ott. Welcome to the show once again. One of, I don't know, I'm going to end up with, almost 500 shows probably before Election Day 2020. Just very quickly, encourage everybody to be better citizens, be more involved, be looking for the facts. That's the who, the what, the where, and the when. And trying to stay away from all the opinion and bias that's out there, and also be open to opposing views, at least listening to how they got there. So someone, and again, in this very polarized environment, which there's a bunch of people, wealthy, powerful people that are trying to keep you polarized. So that's the source of a lot of this rhetoric and stuff like that, and misinformation that's out there. It's because these people are manipulating us. So there's information that even someone that you ardently maybe despise because of their views, they could have information that you don't have, and that's causing that, and vice versa, right? They don't have information that you have. And by sharing and having that dialogue, I think we can all come a lot closer together. And I've talked about various issues, and I'll talk about others going forward. But tonight, I just wanted to talk about a few things that I've been advocating that we all could do that would make the world a whole lot better place. And one of them is redefining success. And so I actually have a couple of different articles to go over with you about how that redefinition of success actually would have a very positive impact. So, and again, our current definition of success, the definition that most of us have had for, thousands and thousands of years, is the accumulation of wealth, influence, and power. And that drives some good behaviors, but it mostly drives a lot of very bad behaviors. Stealing, murder, fraud, on and on and on. They're all driven by people trying to accumulate wealth, influence, and power, and maybe lacking the legal or legitimate ways of getting it, but they go for it anyway. And so today, let me just jump into a couple of these different things that I have. So one of them is, and I've talked about, the importance of eating better and stuff like that. So there's an article that appeared, I think it was on CNN on their website, and it talks about a town in California, Loma Linda, and the average age of the people there is solidly like 10 years longer than the average elsewhere around America and around the world, actually. And so why is that? And a lot of it has to do with people, having low levels of stress, because they basically are not, a lot of these people. And so I'm going to actually mention there is a religion that's mentioned here, but I don't think it's the Seventh-day Adventists. But I don't think these things, perhaps their religion and their faith in this group that they're with, helps them kind of maintain the lifestyle, but there's nothing magic about them. This is things that we all could do, and we all should do. Eating better, getting exercise, and not being so stressed about accumulating wealth, influence, and power. That was one of the big things here. So they interviewed this fellow. He died when he was 104 years old, and when he was 100, they interviewed him, and he said, he was a heart surgeon, and he had been assisting with heart surgeries even up through age 95. And he claimed when he was 100 that his hands were still quite steady and his brain sharp and so on. Blood pressure was good. And because there's a couple of things. One is he refused to have stress over, issues beyond his control. He also ate well. So a lot of vegetables in the diet, and regular exercise, not extreme exercise, not running marathons or anything, but just walks in the park and that kind of thing. And so and I'm going through here, they did a nice, so you end up with you're fairly fit, so you're not obese, so low body fat levels, hardly any smoking, hardly any alcohol, a daily exercise, and the church advocates a life of service. So dedication to volunteering, humanitarian, and mission work is typical and contributes to the sense of community. So one of the reasons why I keep telling you that we need to redefine our success in terms of, not in terms of wealth, influence, and power, but in terms of service to the planet and the people on it, because it's so fulfilling. It it resolves or fulfills your soul in a way that scrambling after money and big houses and fancy cars just can't do. And if you've ever done any volunteer work at all, you've felt it, and you probably just don't do enough of it. Okay? Service to the planet and the people on it. Leave this, chase for money and influence and power behind. Okay? So you can read the rest. This is an article. Let's see here. It's entitled, let me give you the title here. I'll go ahead and show it on the screen for a moment. Okay. So what this sunny religious town in California teaches us about living longer, and one of the big things is low stress and this fulfillment by serving. Okay, serving the community, serving the planet. So then, oddly enough, on where is it here? On Facebook, my brother. None of us are really too big on Facebook. Notwithstanding, I have this page that I'm doing these live broadcasts on, but for the most part, most of my family kind of stays off Facebook, and we really treat it like it should be a thing, to remind you of birthdays, or maybe share a nice picture of a puppy or something like that, or somebody's birthday, and maybe some old, some stuff with old friends, kind of like how it was originally used, both Twitter and Facebook when they first started. It seemed like there was a lot more just positive activity and people just sharing things that they wanted to share, and then in many ways it devolved because, maybe outside influences and so on. But anyway, let me get to this story because I think it's important. And again, redefine success. Redefine success. So here it is. At a fundraising dinner for a school that serves children with learning disabilities, the father of one of the students delivered a speech that wouldn't be forgotten by those who attended. After extolling the school and its dedicated staff, he offered a question. When not interfered with by outside influences, everything nature does is done with perfection. Yet my son, Shay, cannot learn things as other children do, and he cannot understand things as other children do. Where is the natural order of things in my son? And the audience was stilled by his question. The father continued, I believe that when a child like Shay, who is mentally and physically disabled, comes into the world, an opportunity to realize true human nature presents itself. And it comes in the way other people treat that child. And then he told his story. So this is the father speaking. Shay and I had walked past a park where some boys were playing, and Shay knew that they were playing some baseball there, and Shay asked, do you think they'll let me play? Well, I knew that most of the boys would not want someone like Shay on their team, but as a father, I also understood that if my son were allowed to play, it would give him a much-needed sense of belonging and some self-confidence, and it would be wonderful for him to be accepted by others despite his handicaps. So I approached one of the boys on the field and I asked, not expecting very much, if Shea could play. And the boy looked around and at his friends, and they said, "We're losing by 6 runs, and the game is in the 8th inning. I guess you can be on our team, and we'll try to put him into bat in the 9th inning." Well, Shea struggled over to the team's bench, and with a broad smile, he put on a team shirt. And I watched with a small tear in my eye and with great warmth in my heart. The boy saw my joy at my son being accepted. In the bottom of the 8th inning, Shea's team scored a few runs, but it was still behind by 3. And in the top of the 9th, Shea put on a glove and he played in the right field. And even though no hits came out his way, he was obviously ecstatic just to be in the game and be on the field, and he was grinning from ear to ear as I waved at him from the stands. In the bottom of the 9th inning, Shea's team scored again. And now with 2 outs and the bases loaded, the potential winning run was on the base, and Shea was scheduled to be at bat. And at this juncture, would they let Shea bat and give away their chance to win the game? Surprisingly, Shea was given a bat. And everyone knew that a hit was all but impossible because Shea didn't even know how to hold the bat, much less connect with a ball. However, as Shea stepped up to the plate, the pitcher, recognizing that the other team was putting winning aside, moved in a few steps to lob the ball in softly so Shea could try to make contact. The first pitch came and Shea swung clumsily and he missed, and the pitcher again took a few steps forward to toss the ball softly toward Shea. And the pitch came in and Shea swung at the ball and he hit a slow ground ball right back to the pitcher. Well, the game would be over. The pitcher would pick up the soft grounder, and he could have easily thrown the ball to the first baseman. And Shea would have been out, and that would have been the end of the game. Instead, the pitcher threw the ball right over the top of the first baseman's head, fully out of reach of all of his teammates. And everyone from the stands and both teams started yelling, "Shea, Shea, run to first." Well, never in his life had Shea ever run that far, but he made it to first base, and he scampered down the baseline, and he was wide-eyed and startled. And everyone yelled, "Run to second, run to second." And catching his breath, Shea awkwardly ran towards second, gleaming and struggling to make it to the base. By the time Shea rounded towards second, the right fielder had the ball, and he was the smallest and worst player on the team, and he now had his chance to be the hero. And he could have thrown the ball to second baseman for the tag out, but he understood the pitcher's intention, so he too intentionally threw the ball high, and far over the third baseman's head. Well, Shea ran toward third base deliriously as the runners ahead of him circled the bases toward home, and all were screaming, "Shea, Shea, Shea," all the way. Shea reached third base because the opposing shortstop ran to help him by turning him in the direction of third base. And he shouted, "Run to third!" As Shea rounded third, the boys from both teams and the spectators were on their feet, and they were screaming, "Shea, run home, run home." And Shea ran to home, stepped on the plate, and was cheered as the hero who hit the grand slam and won the game for his team. That day, the father said softly, the boys from both teams helped bring a piece of true love and humanity to this world. Shea didn't make it another summer. He died that winter. Having never forgotten being the hero and making me so happy, and coming home and seeing his mother tearfully embrace her little hero of the day. So, redefine success. Redefine success in your lives. Do it for yourselves and also your opinion of others. When people are, hey, they're chasing this, just throw out a name, Bill Gates. Okay, he's a multi-billionaire. I think he's back on, the wealthiest person, and he does a fair amount of positive stuff, but he still remains the world's most wealthiest person because wealth, influence, and power, he could do so much more. That's true. There's, I looked up, I think it's They say they think there's around 2,600 billionaires. They're not quite sure. It might be more like 3,000 around the world. And all of those people have way too much money for anyone that would ever need it. And they could be doing so many great, grand things, except for our bad definition of success. And then the real miracle is, just like those kids on the baseball field, you don't have to have congressional approval from your parents. You don't need an amendment to the Constitution. You don't need permission from your church. You just have to redefine success in terms of service to the planet and the people on it. Monday, November 25th, 2019. This has been the Pro and Con Show. I'm your host, Michael James Ott. Until the next show, bye for now.